Treysen Eaglestaff is one of the biggest names in the portal very early. We see this happen every single offseason, it feels like, in the current landscape of college basketball, where there's a mid-major name that becomes the mid-major name. Kind of happened with Baylor Shireman a couple years ago, happened with Grant Nelson a couple years ago, and all the schools line up to swoop in early and try and get the big fish before the rest of the portal really gets heating up. And Eaglestaff feels like that guy. He's a guy who had multiple monster games this season at North Dakota. He had 40 against Alabama. And then I think I'm remembering this correctly. He had 51 against South Dakota State in the Summit League tournament. So, this dude who can, like, if you can score 50 in a college basketball game, there's something there, obviously. We have a video on the channel right now just breaking down his game in general. But now we have a list of schools that have been on Treysen Eaglestaff very aggressively so. These lists or these schools reported to have contacted and been prioritizing Eaglestaff include Gonzaga, Kansas, Alabama, St. John's, Michigan, and of course Kentucky. Kentucky was the rumored school that was trying to line this up even before it really got public. Apparently, there are meetings set up this week between Treysen Eaglestaff and Kentucky's coaching staff as they prepare for the Sweet 16. So hearing that initial list of 6 schools, Kentucky, Michigan, St. John's, Alabama, Kansas, Gonzaga, anything jump out at you with Treysen?
Kentucky. He feels like a Mark Pope guy. I think he even was quoted as saying how he grew up watching Kentucky, which, like, by the way, everyone says that. And the reason everyone says that is because of Calipari. So, like, I do want to I want to get ahead of that a little bit. Like the AD Calipari teams, everybody grew up watching them. So I mean, what's interesting about his 51 point game is how he followed it up with 6 points. I did a little bit of a deep dive into his film. I think this kid's going to be really, really good at a blue blood. He's a bucket, but he had to create everything off the bounce. I don't think he has as much wiggle to his game as he had to showcase at North Dakota State. Or is he at North Dakota? Excuse me, just at North Dakota. But I don't think he has as much wiggle as he kind of had to showcase, kind of like that solo, like let me go get 51. But I think he's going to fill it up just as like an off the catch shooter, right? Like, and that's exactly how Mark Pope builds teams, where it's like, hey, we need, like, you can fill this Kobe Bryant role. And by the way, he can do a little bit more than Kobe too, because he can get some buckets off the bounce. I just don't think he wants to do it at the volume he had to at North Dakota. So I really like him in the Kobe Bryant role, maybe even the Jackson Robinson role a little bit for Kentucky next year.
Okay, so I'm going to get skeptical for a moment. I apologize. So I mentioned Shireman and Grant Nelson as guys that you compare the situation to with Eaglestaff of like being the priority mid-major transfer. Shireman is in the NBA. He was pretty clearly an NBA prospect at the time, and just all the passing stuff he could do, the size, it was a lot more than just scoring. Grant Nelson, NBA athlete, 6'10", front court with guard skills, like no questions on that. Just because you started a mid-major and have prolific success doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become those guys. And that's where I am currently landing on Treysen Eaglestaff. With all due respect to him, the 50-point game was incredible. The 40-point game was incredible. Here's a couple other games in his final month. He had 6 points on 6 shots with 7 turnovers in their loss to St. Thomas one day after the 48-point game against South Dakota State. His team got sent packing because he had more turnovers than points and shot attempts in their final game of the season. 3 games before that, he had 0 points on 6 shot attempts in 20 minutes against St. Thomas. Now, maybe you'll never see St. Thomas again. Maybe St. Thomas is just a defense that's way too hard to overcome for Mr. Eaglestaff. My guess would be in the SEC, you're going to see some defenses that are a little bit better than St. Thomas. So I understand why teams want this guy, specifically to Kentucky, if they are recruiting him to fill the Brea role. He ain't Kobe Bryant. He shot 33% from 3 in Summit League play this year. That ain't him. If you're recruiting him to be Jackson Robinson, he ain't Jackson Robinson. He's a bench shooter, and a bench shooter that might be good, but not a knockdown shooter, and certainly not a guy you want to be a first option. And I will compare him to some names that I think are more in line with what he's going to be if he goes to a high major level here. Nick Timberlake, prolific mid-major scorer. Going to do it at Kansas? Not so fast. Cade Tyson, prolific shooter. North Carolina, not so much. Frankie Fiddler, how about a guy from the Summit League, Dion? Frankie Fiddler was like the Summit League's leading scorer last year. Mind you, on a team that had the same record as this year's North Dakota team. Because Dion lost in Treysen Eaglestaff's pursuit. His team went 12 and 21 this year. They finished sixth place in the Summit League, Dion. So to me, that just a high volume, do everything, score first Summit League guy that isn't exactly a knockdown shooter that had some stinkers as much as he had great games. I'm surprised that he is being prioritized this much by some of the Blue Bloods.
I think it's just the size. I also think Trayson Eaglestaff, one thing that like probably helps his case with Blue Bloods is if he winds up being Nick Timberlake, I think he's okay just being at Kentucky on the bench. To be fair, so I think he probably has the mentality of someone you probably don't have to overpromise playtime to it as well.
That's true. Like if you're Trayson and you just want to go be a part of something, like absolutely. And who knows? With Mark Pope, like with that offense, he might end up awesome if he goes there. But now we're also hearing like Kentucky wants Donovan Dent. So if we're allocating some resources here at Kentucky, I would hope that they're prioritizing Donovan Dent over Trayson Eaglestaff. Um, but I don't know. Listen, my school's on the list too. If my school gets Trayson Eaglestaff, I'm not sure what I think his role will be next year. But I mean, man, he killed Bama though. At the same time, he destroyed Alabama. So maybe I'm wrong.
Microwave shooter, maybe like a Nick Young role, where it's like, hey, everything's going south, and you throw Trayson in there, and maybe he's able to like turn the tide for you. I
Yeah.
don't know. Michigan makes less sense to me than Kentucky. Like I can find a role for him at Kentucky. I think Michigan, with how many players they're returning, I don't know where he would fit in.
Yeah, or like go to Gonzaga. Gonzaga's on this list. Go be what they wanted Dusty Stromer to be. Go torch West Coast Conference defenses, and I got no doubts he could do that. Right? Like,
Is it Gonzaga's in the? Are they in the Pac-12 next year?
ooh, I don't know.
I don't know when that starts.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But good luck to. I don't mean to disrespect him. Like he has earned being a high priority target like this. I think he leans closer to that last group of three comparisons than he does the studs I started out this video with. So we'll see where he ends up. We'll have more coverage of this as this recruitment progresses.
It is March, and that means that March Madness is upon us. And if you are looking for a place to play, Underdog Fantasy has you covered. Sign up and deposit using code SLEEPERS, that's code SLEEPERS, to receive up to $1,000 in bonus credit plus a free pick. Head over to Underdog Fantasy today and use promo code SLEEPERS to take advantage of this amazing offer.